Welcome to Body in Balance Podcast. I am your host, Charlotte Johnson, the certified licensed physician assistant, sent here to kick some knowledge your way once a week for the purpose of educating, informing, and enlightening this audience concerning physical, spiritual, and emotional aspects of our bodies in relation to our Creator, the one, the only, the true and living God. Yes, yes, He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Let us give it up for Yahweh. All right. I tell you, it doesn't take much to make me laugh, but when I saw that video, I thought, surely I have to have that on my show. I have got to put that on my podcast because that should not be you. We don't want you to start out trying to move, not having a sedentary lifestyle, but a burger in one hand and a cup of soda in the other, nah, that's not going to work. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about sedentary lifestyles and its effect on the body. I love this right here, this picture right here. It's a guy doing the same thing. This is not dynamic, it's more static. There you see a guy sitting with a soda and a book, but this is a gift, a GIF.com. It's a gift. And when you look at it, he's sitting in front of a treadmill, and it cracked me up because his legs are just a going, but he's sitting down in a chair. I tell you, like I said, it don't take much to make me laugh, but that was hilarious. All right, so let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about today. In sedentary lifestyles, our agenda is going to be understanding the sedentary lifestyle, physical effects of health, how it affects your physical health, how it affects your mental health, long-term risk, and how can we mitigate sedentary lifestyles. So let's talk about it. The definition and characteristics of a sedentary lifestyle is somebody that is just living their life seated on the couch, in the recliner, in a chair, in a hammock, whatever you're doing, you're not doing much. How about that? There's not much going on, and it's prolonged sitting and inactivity. Some people like to use the excuse that they're chronologically matured, so they don't move. You know, like you're too old to move. Let me tell you, my father passed away at 74, but he was doing push-ups. He would walk at least 2 to 3 miles. He was exercising. He was doing jumping jacks, and he was in his 70s, but he kept moving. Thin frame guy, living his life, and he got the flu. But it wasn't that he left here because he wasn't trying to be healthy. He was moving. Common sedentary activities, TV. Wow. Sitting in front of that TV, watching football games, and there's plenty of them to watch. Watching basketball games, watching Netflix or playing video games, excessive work on the computer. You can be doing work at home. When COVID hit, there was a lot of people that ended up being at home and working. And so you're real close to the refrigerator. So you just take a few steps, and about all of the push-ups or pull-ups you were doing was pulling that refrigerator open and grabbing something to eat. And that's what your exercise was. Not a good thing. Recognizing patterns. If you start seeing yourself making a beeline to the refrigerator all the time or the cabinet and getting snacks, eating cookies and ice cream and donuts and chips and things that aren't very healthy, you find yourself doing that, you got to catch yourself before you wreck yourself. All right. Common causes that contribute to this is modern technology. We talked about that. Computers, games, video games, and that kind of thing. Let me tell you, this little tool right here, this remote, this clicking on the TV, not even getting up to change the channel like they used to, or pull the rabbit ears. Oh, wait a minute. I'm letting you all know about how chronologically matured I am. Some of you young people don't even know what the rabbit ears are. But sedentary lifestyles at work. I enjoy my job because the desk is so ergonomic. You don't have to sit in your chair. You can push a button and it'll lift the desk up, and you can stand up for a little while and let circulation get to your legs. That's a good thing. Convenient lifestyle choices. Let me tell you something. I know they don't have many malls or anything like that, but you do not have to park right in front of the door. I've seen people drive around in circles for a good 2 minutes looking for a parking spot close to the door. Why don't you park in the last parking lot, in the last parking spot in the lot, and walk to the door? It would be helpful, because when you come back, then you got to push the cart, and that gives you a little more exercise. These kind of things you need to think about. Stop using the elevator. Don't go on the elevator. Go on the stairs. It's the second floor. You're on the first floor, go on the second floor. You can go up the stairs. Physical health effects. So what happens to you when you just sit around like a lump on a log? Well, cardiovascular disease, that is heart disease. You can see the shape of that bowl is like a heart. So sedentary behavior significantly increases the risk of developing cardiovascular disease and having an MI. What's an MI? A myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction, or a heart attack. A heart attack. Yes, a heart attack. It is crucial to understand these risks. When you lack physical activities, it contributes also to elevated blood pressure, especially if you eat a lot of salt, a lot of salty chips, pretzels, things like that, luncheon meats, because they preserve it in sodium. So these elevated cholesterol meals, such as, oh gosh, I hate to say it, but Popeyes, McDonald's, Burger King, all of these fatty foods don't help us one bit. And eating butter sandwiches, that kind of stuff, it's just not good stuff for your heart. Importance of regular movement. We talked about that last week about the flexibility, and you've got to move. You got to stretch it out, and you got to move. You got to move to keep your heart, that pumper, that ticker in your chest, healthy. So, obesity can lead to something called metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a result of sedentary lifestyles, and it contributes to weight gain around your abdomen. If you look at the picture in the second slide where you see the man's abdomen is extended, that's not air, that's fat. And when you have a lot of fat around visceral organs, well, what's a visceral organ? Wow, great question. That's your heart, your liver, your spleen, your intestines, all of those vital organs, your kidneys that are within your body. When you eat a lot of fatty foods and a lot of high cholesterol having foods, they tend to pack on fat around your abdomen and your buttocks. The buttocks is not that big of an issue, but it is a problem when it's around your vital organs, that fat. It can lead to hypertension. It can lead to diabetes. It can lead to having problems with your digestive tract and you being constipated a lot. That can be a problem for you. Understanding that metabolic syndrome is characterized by a cluster of health conditions. It affects your pancreas. The pancreas, and we're going to talk about this in a later episode. The pancreas is a vital organ because it controls your insulin levels. And when you have endogenous insulin, that's insulin that you're making from your own body. Exogenous insulin is when you have to give yourself a shot because you don't have enough of your own insulin to get rid of glucose in your body. Then you will have problems that lead to this metabolic syndrome. That's why a lot of times when you lose a lot of weight, if you lose 10 to 30 pounds, you may be off of your insulin. You could get off of your medications, your not your insulin, but the pills that you may have to take. You can get off of all those things. And that's why these medications that they're using for weight loss, they found out they help with losing weight and lowering your insulin levels. Your musculoskeletal system. Your musculoskeletal system. You can have issues with that. Yes, you'll have joint pain around your back, low back, mid back, even in your knees, your hips, and your ankles. They are load-bearing joints. Load-bearing joints are your knees, your ankles, your hips, and your low back. That's why you can easily get arthritis in those areas, and you can start to lose your flexibility around those areas. If you're carrying around a lot of weight, it causes problems because there's supposed to be joint space, about this much joint space between your bones where your knees are. When there's not enough joint space because of weight compressing that joint, then you lose the meniscus, which is a load-bearing joint cushion. You lose that cushion, it gets thin, and you start to rub bone on bone. And that bone on bone is what causes arthritis. When you lose the elasticity around that joint, that's when you get a lot of pain. So inactivity can lead to various musculoskeletal problems in the joints that I just said. Regular movement helps with that and prevents that. And you don't want to develop muscle weakness. When you're sitting for long periods of time, you start to lose that muscle. We talked last week about the flab on your thighs and your buttocks. That clapping of your thighs is because the fat accumulates in that area. And when it does, then you start to lose the strength around your hip joints. And that's how you develop the hip pain and things like that. Even your mental health can be affected, your mood and your anxiety. Research indicates that prolonged inactivity seems to be linked to some mood disorders, and it heightens anxiety. It also brings about those negative thoughts. If you remember from the episode, my second episode on optimal mental health, and I talked about the negative thoughts that intrude your mind. Well, when you look at yourself and you start to develop a negative image of yourself. Now, I don't want you to think that because you have some weight on you, that you have to be skinny. We're not talking about the Hollywood image that you have to be skin and bones. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're not moving and then you start to gain weight and you weren't that size when you were 20 or 30, then it starts to bother you. There are some things called natural endorphins. We'll talk about those in another episode, but they tend to help with pain and mood. There's benefits to your physical activity, giving you the ability to not to be more positive with your mood and to not have as much anxiety. It also helps with diverting cognitive decline. Not always, but sedentary behavior is linked to, or has been linked scientifically to, cognitive decline and mental fatigue, negatively affecting your brain. Long-term health risks. Yes, there can be some long-term health risks. We talked about those already with the metabolic syndrome and what we had there, chronic disease and how it impacts that. So we can reduce life expectancy with sedentary lifestyle effects. If you want to reduce poor life expectancy, if you want to increase and decrease the risk of chronic disease, then you want to start exercising, start moving, start doing some things. Little things, like I said, like the grocery store, parking, and taking a walk on nice days. Just take a walk. It doesn't have to be far, it doesn't have to be fast. You don't have to run, you don't have to join Planet Fitness, you don't have to join those places, but just little things that you can do. Going up and down your own stairs. These are some of the mitigating factors that we talked about. Set regular exercise. You got to discipline yourself. You have to make your body move. It doesn't want to. It wants to sit around, but you got to be in control of that body and make it move. Get it up off the couch. Get it doing something. Join a fitness class. I told you didn't have to join Planet Fitness, but there's a lot of great aspects to joining Planet Fitness. They have trainers that you don't have to pay for a lot of money. They have hydro massage. They have exercise programs that they will help you develop. Then for seniors, you can go to your local community center And they have senior fitness programs. You can get a chance to meet people, interact with people, and there are some gyms or some community centers that have hydrotherapy. Wow, it is so cool to get into that warm water and do exercises where there's no buoyancy, that low buoyancy, and no problems for having joint pain like you would with running. Biking is a good exercise that you don't have to do that. I want to bring up and give a shout out to my aunt. I'm gonna holler her name out, Aunt Dorothy. She joined a dance group, and it was so amazing to see her and all of her friends in their late 60s, 70s. And there was, I believe, one lady that was in her 80s, and they were doing line dancing. And that's a good way to exercise, to uh, have some camaraderie and collaboration and accountability for exercise. So, in conclusion, I want to talk about the impact of physical health. Sedentary lifestyle can lead to various health issues, as we discussed. It has to do with your heart, with your weight, with weakness of your muscles. Recognizing these risk factors is very important. It helps you to make choices. And that's good choices on what you eat, good choices on things you do, good choices on how you take care of your body. You're only given one, you need to take care of it. The impact of your mental health, how you are affected as far as depression and anxiety, and even your sleep habits. Enhancing your quality of life in different ways is very important, and it will improve your quality of life. So, we have concluded with this episode, and it was on having a sedentary lifestyle and what effects it has. We talked about all the negatives. We talked about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. We started out with what you shouldn't do. You should not be getting on a treadmill eating a donut. No, no, no. But we want to move. We want to get our body moving. We need to get around. We need to walk. We need to climb stairs. We need to move, move, move. Hopefully, this has been a blessing to you and has helped you with understanding that it's important to move, it's important to make good choices, and it's important to protect this body. You only have one, you got to take care of it. I pray that God continue to bless you and that you continue to take care. Don't want to be too political, but I want to say this. Now that there have been major changes in Washington, you are not going to be able to have the things that you had before. A lot of things concerning your health care, a lot of things concerning what was given to you. If you have disability because of certain things, that might not be there anymore. You can't look to the government for your help. You're going to have to look to the hills from which cometh your help. And all of your help needs to come from the Lord. And the Lord has given you the tools, this thing up here, the smarts to move, to exercise, to work, even inspired me to get on here once a week on Wednesdays and let you know about your health, things to do to protect yourself. So I want you to love yourself, love the Lord, love your neighbor, be accountable, and be ready to be a part of Body in Balance podcast. Look forward to seeing you next week.